仔细看，4月14日，四川宜宾一女子因为60万彩礼分手。
On April 14th, a woman in Yibin, Sichuan, broke up with her boyfriend over a 600,000 yuan bride price. Subsequently, a video of her kneeling on the ground and crying went viral online, sparking widespread public attention and heated discussions. From the video shot by a bystander, we can see that the woman, regardless of her appearance, tightly grabbed the man and kept crying and shouting, "Why? Has our 8-year relationship really ended just like that? How am I supposed to live after this?" According to informed sources, the couple had been in a stable relationship for 8 full years. As they approached the stage of discussing marriage, serious disagreements arose over the issue of bride price. The woman's family demanded a bride price of 600,000 yuan, which was a huge burden for the man. From then on, the couple quarreled constantly. The woman repeatedly accused the man of not being willing to pay the 600,000 yuan, saying it showed he lacked sincerity and didn't love her enough. This made the man feel both heartbroken and helpless. However, for an ordinary family, 600,000 yuan is not an amount that can be easily produced. Faced with the woman's constant pressure and cold attitude, the man gradually became mentally and emotionally exhausted, and the relationship was slowly worn down bit by bit. In the end, he made the painful decision to end the relationship. What's heartbreaking is that not long after the breakup, the man's family began arranging blind dates for him. Soon after, he got engaged and married to another woman, and the process moved very quickly. When the original girlfriend found out about this, she completely broke down and cried uncontrollably. This is what led to the viral video where she kneeled and begged for reconciliation. She pleaded on the street, even saying she could give up the bride price, as long as she could save their relationship. Faced with such a scene, although the man still felt reluctant in his heart, he gently helped her up and still insisted on breaking up. An 8-year relationship is not something easy to let go of, but reality is cruel. The bride price was originally a traditional custom, meant to symbolize formal recognition of a marriage. But when the amount is pushed too high, it becomes the final straw that breaks a relationship.
我前男友都结婚了，我跟他吧，我们俩在一块7年。
My ex-boyfriend got married yesterday. When I saw his wedding photos, my heart immediately sank. We had been together for 7 whole years, but in the end, we still broke up. There wasn't any earth-shattering conflict between us. The breakup was more because of a build-up of small frictions over time. Ultimately, I blame myself. I placed too much importance on material things back then, disliked that he didn't have money, and felt he couldn't give me the kind of romantic and refined life I wanted. At that time, he was just a low-level salesman, with a monthly salary of a little over 4,000 yuan. I was the kind of girl who had high expectations for the quality of life. I hoped for a sense of ritual, surprises, enjoyment. But he was always saving money, stretching every penny to its fullest. Life wasn't exactly poor or bitter, but it always felt like something was missing. My best friend's husband was doing very well. He often took her traveling, eating gourmet food, and buying luxury goods. Every photo she posted in her social media made me feel like I was living a hard life. So I became more and more dissatisfied. The more I compared, the greater the sense of gap. In the end, driven by a mix of impulse and resentment, I was the one who initiated the breakup. But who would have thought that years later, when I saw news of his marriage, my heart would still be stabbed so deeply. I started recalling everything we had, every little moment between us playing back like a movie in my mind. I still have our photos from back then saved on my phone. So many memories. Back then we were broke, with only a few dozen yuan on us. We'd share one bucket of instant noodles and couldn't even afford to add a sausage. When we went out, I always made him take photos of me. But I had a bad temper. I'd yell at him when I was angry, thinking he couldn't even take a decent photo. Yet he never argued with me. He always tolerated me. There was one time we were playing games at home. After I won, I started drawing all over his face and body, even covered his whole back with a tattoo, and he still didn't get mad, just smiled and let me do as I pleased. These warm little things, only now do I realize how precious they were. So, caught up in emotion, I sent him a message saying I still couldn't let go, that I wanted to start over with him. But he only replied with one sentence, "It's impossible now. I'm getting married tomorrow. I hope you can be happy for me." Looking at that message, I felt extremely heartbroken. Even more ironic is that he's doing quite well now. I heard he got promoted, his monthly salary has increased several times, and he's become more confident and steady, a completely different person from before. I suddenly started to regret, was I too impulsive, too materialistic back then? That boy who quietly gave so much for me and tolerated all my moods, maybe he had always deserved a better future. I just didn't see it. But it wasn't until he truly walked into marriage that I realized, maybe for the rest of my life, I'll never meet another man who treated me as genuinely as he did.
闺蜜今天来找我哭诉，说离婚还不到1年，她前夫呢就有了新的女朋友。
My best friend came to me today crying and venting at the same time. She said that it's been less than a year since the divorce, and her ex-husband already has a new girlfriend. And what she found hardest to accept was that the man she used to look down on and thought had no ambition at all turned out to be so popular and in demand out there. After listening to her story, I just replied with one word: serves you right. Here's what actually happened. Around last year, my best friend brought up divorce with her husband, and the reason was pretty clear. She thought he lacked ambition. She said that he either played video games or went fishing in his spare time, and aside from working, he never tried to improve himself or earn more money. He was almost 40 already, yet his monthly salary was still less than 7,000 yuan. After working at the same company for over 10 years, his position hadn't changed, his salary hadn't increased, and there was no hope for the future at all. In contrast, my best friend is quite capable. She runs a small business, owns a tobacco and liquor store, and manages it really well. Her income is much higher than her husband's. Seeing other women with good husbands, the sense of disparity and disappointment in her heart kept growing. One day she finally made up her mind and asked for a divorce. Of course, her husband didn't want the divorce, but my best friend insisted. I remember at that time her husband even came to me personally and asked me to help persuade her. Honestly, I also thought he wasn't a bad guy. Though not ambitious, he did have a stable job, and his income was enough to get by. Aside from gaming and fishing, he didn't have any bad habits. He was actually quite decent. So I kept speaking well of her husband in front of her, trying to help her weigh the pros and cons, saying that even if she left him, she might not find someone better. But she wouldn't listen at all and stayed firm in her stance. Her husband even knelt in front of her several times, but it didn't move her at all. In the end, she insisted on the divorce. No one could talk her out of it, and they still ended up separating. Who would have thought that the loser ex-husband she used to talk down about actually had a great reputation at his workplace? Not only did his bosses and colleagues praise him for being honest and reliable, but many even proactively introduced girlfriends to him. As for my best friend, she was also set up on blind dates, but the men she met were all greasy middle-aged uncles, reeking of cigarettes, alcohol, and body odor. She just couldn't stand them. After meeting a few of them, she suddenly realized that maybe her ex-husband, though plain, was steady and reliable. Maybe he was the one who truly suited her best. So she started to regret it, started missing the marriage she had personally thrown away. A few days ago, her ex-husband came to pick up their child, and she deliberately asked their son to test the waters a bit, to see if he could get any hint from his dad, like whether he might still be open to getting back together. But the son told her that his dad already had a new girlfriend, a kindergarten teacher, and their relationship was stable. They were even discussing marriage. My best friend was completely dumbfounded. She said she had always thought that after the divorce, her ex-husband would fall into a slump, maybe even spiral for a few years. But to her surprise, he bounced back quickly and even started a new relationship so soon. I told her, then who do you have to blame? He didn't want the divorce back then. He even humbled himself to beg you, even knelt down, but you were unmoved. Men care a lot about face. You were so cold and harsh back then, he completely lost hope. Now he's moved on and found new happiness. Just let it go. Let him go, and let yourself go too.
时候我一心想离，只要他同意签字，我没有任何条件，宁可净身出户。
Back then, before I got divorced, all I could think about was getting out of that marriage. As long as he was willing to sign the papers, I wouldn't ask for anything. Even if it meant walking away with nothing, I wouldn't hesitate. Later, my ex-husband finally agreed to sign the divorce papers, but when the actual moment of divorce came, I suddenly felt empty inside, overwhelmed by a strong sense of loss. He was actually still trying to win me back at the time, but I was determined and didn't look back. After the divorce, I wandered alone for several years. Over these years, I went through a lot, grew a lot, and saw the world for what it really is. To be honest, I regretted it. Later, I tried to go back and asked for reconciliation, but my ex-husband refused. During that time, I moved back to my parents' house for a few months. At first, my younger brother's wife was nice to me, but later on, she often gave me the cold shoulder. I didn't want to make things harder for my mom or add to the family burden, so I moved out. Along the way, I finally came to understand. Women should never casually talk about divorce. Most women end up regretting it after the fact. Your parents' home is not truly your home anymore, and your in-laws' home is no longer yours either. If your husband is at least diligent and family-oriented, that's already a kind of luck. Don't always nitpick, complain, or try to change him. Looking back at how I was back then, I thought I was so outstanding. I couldn't see anything good in him, always finding faults, constantly questioning myself. How did I ever marry you? I kept fantasizing that if I found someone else, maybe I could finally live the ideal happy life. But reality wasn't like that. We were always fighting, always angry, using all kinds of excuses to push for a divorce. And in the end, we really divorced. After the divorce, there were indeed men who pursued me. At first, they all acted very attentive and obedient. But once the second marriage began, everything changed. People were right, second marriages are full of guarded hearts. No one truly gives their whole self. I raised his child for a few years, but when it came to my own child, he absolutely refused to let him come over. We'd argue at the slightest thing, even to the point of physical violence. You know, my ex-husband never once laid a hand on me, and in that moment, I truly felt heartbroken. I gave my heart, but couldn't get real love in return. As for my own child, his father was too busy with work to take care of him. He went to and from school all by himself. After evening tutoring classes, he even had to take a taxi home alone. When you think about it, the biggest victim of divorce is really the child. That's why I started thinking about getting back together. Unfortunately, my ex-husband didn't agree. He actually knew a long time ago that I regretted it, but he didn't give me a way out, and I couldn't bring myself to ask for it either. Because I had been too ruthless, too cold-hearted back then, forcing him to sign that divorce agreement. At the time, all I wanted was freedom, to finally live for myself and pursue so-called happiness. But reality slapped me in the face. Now every man I meet is worse than the last, and I simply can't find anyone better. Later, I learned through one of my ex-husband's friends that he was now dating a woman younger than me. When I heard that, my heart just collapsed. I regretted it so much. I had left him so decisively back then, and now, I don't even have the chance to go back. In that moment, I finally understood. Some mistakes, once made, can never be undone. That saying is so true. If a woman can't make her first marriage work, the second one is unlikely to go any better. Thinking divorce will lead to a better man is often just a dream. And in reality, the men just keep getting worse. I regret getting divorced. I paid the price for my willfulness, my ingratitude, and my discontent. So I want to tell every woman out there, 90% of divorces will eventually lead to regret. If it's not absolutely necessary, don't do it. As long as you don't get divorced, your child can still have a complete family, and two people can still share the responsibilities of being parents. If you just got divorced not long ago, and you really still have the chance to go back, then go back. Don't be fooled by the illusion of being free and carefree. By the time you regret it, it might already be too late.
Why do most men refuse to remarry after a divorce? 80% of divorces in China are initiated by women, but a few months or even a few years later, many of these women want to get back together. Yet the vast majority of men won't agree to it. Why is that? Because right after the divorce, many men have already done everything they could. They try to keep her. They beg the woman if they had to. In fact, they didn't really want to end the marriage. First, it was hard to let go emotionally. Second, divorce causes real harm to the children. On top of that, they have to deal with gossip and judgment from others. Because after all, in the eyes of society, when a couple gets divorced, most people tend to blame the man. A lot of people will say, this man must be incompetent if he can't even keep his wife. But the truth is quite the opposite. In most divorce cases, women tend to be more emotionally sensitive. They feel unhappy. They think life lacks romance. They feel uncomfortable. At the same time, women are often influenced by their girlfriends or by relatives and friends who fill their heads with bad ideas. And then she divorces on a whim. She has no idea how harsh the world outside really is. She thinks, hey, after I get divorced, I'll surely find a Prince Charming. But the reality turns out to be very cruel. The woman suffers a lot out there, goes through a lot of pain, and realizes there's no one out there who truly cherishes her. Only then does she realize her ex-husband was actually the best option she had. But by the time the woman wants to come back, many men are no longer willing. Because the moment he most wanted you to stay is already gone, and now your regret feels out of place. Because once some people are gone, they're gone forever. Do you think this kind of regret deserves sympathy? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next one.